Good morning. Welcome to yoga, Hatha Yoga with Carol. If you're a regular student, either through online now, I think we've been doing it long enough, you could be called regular, or if you're somebody that did attend my classes before, welcome to everyone. Welcome to anyone that's new. We do move a little slower in this class, taking our time to get into postures, but then we do maybe hold them a little bit longer than we might in a Vinyasa or a class that moves a little quicker. So today or this week, I've been doing a lot of celebrating of spring. I think technically it was supposed to be sometime in March, but we in the Rockies laugh at that. Ha ha ha. I think we feel like in the last week is when we've really been experiencing our spring. And to me, spring makes me think of hope and new beginnings. And I feel like those might be beginning to feel like they're on the horizon, where we have maybe done a good job of keeping our numbers of this virus down, and we can maybe start thinking about the things we can start to do different over the summer. So find your cozy spot. I know I saw one student on Zoom the other day that was actually out on their sun deck. So maybe one of these days we can start taking our classes outside, as long as we can take our iPad or phone out with us. Find your comfortable spot, maybe your blanket and your towel. Let's spend this next hour for ourselves. And we are going to start in child's pose. So coming forward, knees wide, toes to touch behind, hips towards the heels. Doesn't matter how close they get. Reaching the arms forward. Forehead to the mat or forehead to a block or a cushion. You can even bring the arms, bend the arms, elbows to the sides, resting the forehead on stacked hands. And if child's pose really doesn't work in your body, I also like to give the option of reverse child's pose, so you're on your back and just holding on. Kind of a little variation of happy baby. But I know there's lots of us to which child's pose just isn't available. So settling in, slowing down the breath. And coming to that 3-part breath. So on the inhale, filling the belly. On the exhale, inhale, filling the belly. Pardon me, I'm farting with this mic pack. Feeling the breath move to the middle of the chest and the upper chest. There we go. And on the exhale, feeling the upper chest, middle chest, and finally belly fall. So we should have space, unless you are really flat onto the mat, to really feel that inhale, the belly pressing maybe against the mat, feeling the breath move to the middle, the top, and back down. And then in this shape, it's really nice to imagine the breath filling the back body. I think we focus a lot on the front body when we're breathing. So I've heard it described, and I really liked this description. When I'm imagining the breath in the back body, I'm feeling an expansion. So it's like the ribs are widening, the shoulders are widening as I inhale. And then feeling that contraction, everything coming back on the exhale. So as we move into spring, we're coming into Kapha season, which is sort of heavy and dense and wet. We haven't really seen that yet. But as spring will always bring, at some point, that sort of weather, we're coming into a season that's all about earth and water. And hopefully the nicer weather and Maybe that feeling of how to get out into places that aren't too crowded. We can overcome that wet, heavy, dense, and get out onto our bikes. I say bikes here because this is half bike shop now when you come in. And get out onto the paths, walking maybe a little bit more without layers. Just a couple more breaths in this shape. And then on the inhale, let's bring ourselves up to all fours. So hands under shoulders, knees under hips. Let's cycle through cat-cow. So on the inhale, dropping the belly towards the mat, pointing the tailbone to the ceiling, lifting the chest. Maybe lifting the gaze. Exhale, round in the back, chin to chest, tailbone pointing down. And the next few breaths, as we inhale, lift up, it's as if I'm trying to pull my hands towards my knees. And as I exhale, round my back, I'm trying to maybe push my hands away from my knees. I'm just activating the arms. Pausing in one direction or the other, if that's where the stretch feels best this morning. So we are going to move through a little bit of a vinyasa today in between postures. Similar to one that I've taught in the past. There'll be a couple options. Next time the breath or back comes back to neutral, let's pause. Maybe bring the hands a little bit forward of the shoulders. Exhale, let's push the hips towards the heels. Inhale to all fours. Exhale, beginning to bring the hips towards the mat. Maybe not all the way down the first time. Lifting the chest. Inhale back to all fours. Exhale, hips back towards the heels. So I've always called this dancing cat. You can control how deep you come into the back bend. Maybe the hips come all the way down, chest lifted, gaze lifted. And maybe not all the way down, maybe just partial. Exhaling when we sit back into child's pose. Inhale to all fours and exhale into the back bend. Let's do that one more time. And then coming back to all fours, let's walk the hands back to the knees, right foot forward, and we'll come to standing. Coming to stand at the top of the mat. I'm just going to turn to face you. Feet hip distance. Let's inhale the shoulders up to the ears, rolling them down and back. I do have a lovely student today, which is very exciting to have actual student well away in the corner of the room. Palms forward, closing the eyes if that's comfortable. And just really getting that sense of rootedness through the bottoms of the feet. Maybe imagining as you inhale the breath coming all the way through the bottoms of the feet up to the crown of the head. And then exhaling from the crown of the head all the way out through the bottoms of the feet. Maybe even imagining those little bit of roots coming out. Hopefully with this nicer weather, we all get a chance to maybe get out in that grass that's starting to get a little less prickly in our bare feet. On the inhale, let's bring the arms up overhead, interlocking the fingers, bringing out those 2 pointer fingers, thumbs crossed, elbows trying to come back behind the ears, but keeping those shoulders from shrugging up. Let's lift up and out of the waist and bending over to the right. Pushing the hips a little to the left, half moon pose. It's been just beautiful the last few nights. Inhale through center. Exhale, bend into the left. not quite half, but beautifully bright right now. Inhale through center. One more time each side. Inhale back to center. Then on the exhale, let's reverse swan dive. Deep bend in the knees, coming to this first forward fold. So belly resting on thighs, fingers reaching towards the mat. You might let chin come to chest or keep the neck more neutral. Sway a few times. Really feeling the fingertips being drawn to the mat. You might reach for opposite elbows, maybe even a gentle little sway or twist. And just try to traction the spine a little. Exhale, fingers back down towards the mat. Inhale to half lift, so hands to shins. I'm feeling my shoulders come away from my ears. I'm pressing into my shins and reaching forward with the crown of my head, really lengthening the spine. I can still have a bend in my knees if I need to. Couple breaths here, really nice stretch and lengthen of the spine. And then exhale, fold. Inhale, arms up, rise up. Exhale, hands to prayer. Now we'll put this together into the Vinyasa that we're going to move through today. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, fold. Let's bring a deep bend in the knees, bringing the hands all the way down. You can choose to step to plank and drop to knees or come to knees immediately. Exhale, hips towards the heels. Inhale to all fours. Exhale, hips towards the mat, maybe lifting the chest and the gaze. Inhale to all fours. Now you have a choice here to come up into down dog or walk the hands back to the knees. Right knee forward. If you're in down dog, you'll deeply bend the knees and step forward, coming back to standing. Inhale, arms up. Let's do the other side. Exhale, fold. So I'm not going to demo the deep bend in the knees, stepping back, either dropping to knees or coming to knees immediately, hips to heels. I'm not going to demo the down dog version, but feel free to add that if you'd like to add that to your practice today. Inhale to all fours, walking the hands back to the knees. Right foot or left foot forward, pressing into the left thigh and coming to standing. Beautiful. We're going to step back with our left foot. Actually, we're not. We're going to keep our feet hip distance. Let's reground again, lifting the shoulders up to the ears, down and back, palms forward. Couple breaths to reground in mountain. And then we're going to sit back as if sitting into a chair while reaching the arms forward. I can keep my arms at shoulder height, or I can begin to lift them, depending on how that feels in my shoulders. Weight is in the heels. I'm going to see if I can sit just a little bit lower. Reaching the fingertips away as I reach those sit bones back. One more breath. Excellent. Exhale, fold. Let's do the half lift. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, deep bend in the knees, either stepping back before dropping to knees or coming to knees. Hips to heels. Inhale, all fours. Exhale, hips towards the mat, chest lifted. Inhale, all fours, walking the hands back or moving through down dog, coming to standing. Let's come into one more chair pose. Exhale, dropping the hips as I reach the arms forward. Maybe seeing if I can sit just a little bit lower this time. And if it really feels like you're straining with the arms, bring them down to shoulder height. I kind of like this version where I tell this story all the time. Imagine you're in a public toilet and somebody's trying to get in, so I'm reaching back with my sit bones and reaching towards the door. 2 more breaths. And then exhale, fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, deep bend in the knees. Coming to knees. Hips to heels. Inhale, all fours. Exhale, cobra. Inhale, walking the hands back. Left foot forward. And pressing ourselves to standing. Beautiful. Let's step back with our right foot, staying up on the right toes. I might move my left foot a little closer to the left edge of the mat, bending into the front knee. And then this is something I learned from my lovely student Jody. Hands on hips. Let's move between straightening the back leg and bending it. And feeling maybe when the leg is straight that I've got that forward tilt on my pelvis. So finding that spot with a slight bend, it'll be different for everyone, where it feels like your pelvis is a little bit more stable. And then let's inhale the arms to shoulder height. Trying to keep the shoulders from scrunching up to the ears. So I feel I have a downward pressure into my feet as if I was trying to move them away from each other on the mat. Crescent lunge, don't stop breathing. We are balancing. Exhale, let's bring the hands to prayer, tucking the thumbs into the sternum, elbows lifted. And on the exhale, I'm going to twist to the left. So I'm keeping my hands tucked in, so I'm not moving my arms more than my torso. My torso might not move as much as if I was folded forward and maybe had the knee hooked. But that's okay. We're trying to target more of the upper spine, the upper back. 2 more breaths. No holding the breath as we balance and twist. Inhale back to center. Let's release the hands, right foot forward, and move through our Vinyasa. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, fold. Coming all the way down to hands and knees. Exhale, hips to heels. Inhale, all fours. Exhale, cobra or up dog. Inhale, choosing whether you want to cycle through down dog, stepping forward, or right knee forward, pressing into that knee and coming to standing. So we'll step back this time with the left foot, staying up on that toe, maybe walking the right foot a little closer to the right edge of the mat, hands on hips, bending into that front knee. Let's just do our little check, finding that slight bend in the back knee, pressing down and out into the feet, lifting the arms, shoulders away from the ears. You could even have a slight bend in the elbows. Crescent lunge. Big deep breaths with the arms over the head. We have lots of space in the upper chest, but maybe a little tougher to fill the belly. So feel like you can focus on filling the belly. Exhale, hands together in prayer, tucking the thumbs into the center of the chest. And exhale, twisting to the right. So again, it doesn't matter how far around I'm twisting with the hands tucked in. I'm not moving my arms more than my torso. I'm not holding my breath. Lots of balance in this crescent lunge twist. Inhale back to center. Releasing the arms, left foot forward. Let's move through our vinyasa. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, fold. Deep bend in the knees. Stepping back, dropping to knees. Exhale, hips to heels. Inhale through all fours. Exhale, hips towards the mat, chest lifted. Inhale through all fours. And then choosing how you're going to come back up to standing. Either left foot forward or down dog to forward fold. Let's do one. Inhale, arms up. And exhale, hands to prayer. So we're going to move through a breath practice. I'm just going to take a little sip of water. Called the breath of joy. So this is a practice that you might not want to do if there's a lot of other people around. I always say it's a great afternoon pick-me-up. But back in the days where maybe we were all in an office, we might not wanted to pull this one out in a cubicle. So let's make wiping motions with our feet. And just making sure, again, they're in line underneath our hips. So I'll demo just quickly. This is 3 sips of breath. It's not 3 breaths. And we move our arms forward, side, up. And then we bend our knees and we release the breath through the mouth with a ha. Ha! So I taught this earlier this week on Zoom, and I'm like, you're probably in a room by yourself. You can ha as loud as you want, not worrying about what everyone else is thinking. Jody and Kyle already know I'm a little odd, so I'm not worried about yelling ha real loud. So 3 sips of breath through the nose. Ha! 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 Last one. And then we can slowly come back to standing. Maybe leave the eyes open. Might be a little bit of dizziness. But I think we can all feel that energy, that prana moving through our body. When we ha that air out, we're getting rid of that. There's probably always that little bit of stagnant air in the bottoms of the lungs. We can really feel that, hopefully that energizing. And it's something that we might feel even an hour or 2 from now. It might kick in some of that extra energy without having to have the caffeine. Not giving caffeine a bad name, but when you're on your 17th cup and it's not helping, perhaps bringing breath into the body is what you need. Let's move through our final, let's move through Vinyasa. Inhale, arms up, not our final. Exhale, fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, deep bend in the knees, stepping back or dropping to knees. Exhale, hips to heels. Inhale through all fours. Exhale, coming up into cobra or up dog. Exhale, walking the hands back, right knee forward. And coming to standing, we'll do a final just to let anyone moving through down dog. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, hands to prayer. So I think I just adapted that for future, giving space for people wanting to change the vinyasa a little. So we're going to come into tree. So I'll face you. Again, feet hip distance. You can Maybe do those wiping motions, or we're warm enough now, we can put those two fists in between our toes. Inhale, shoulders up to the ears. Down and back. Let's shift the weight into the left leg. And I honestly recommend we all come into kickstand. Right heel, left ankle. Find something in your room that you can fix your gaze. Slowing down the breath. And then making a decision where you might place, if you even lift the right foot, where you might place it on the leg. Coming back to that gaze point in the breath. And then let's see if we can move a little with breath. Inhale, arms up. And exhale, hands together in prayer. Touching the foot down at any time. Moving with your own breath. I love this, growing the roots of the trees. But then just like the weather here, oops, nope, not quite spring again for a moment. And then inhale, arms up. Last one. Don't hold the breath. Let's bring that right foot down. Let's maybe give that left ankle a little love or a little shake of the leg. I'm going to say most of us grip the mat with our toes, me included, when I'm trying to balance. Let's shift the weight into the right leg, coming up into kickstand so we can find that spot to really fix our gaze, our drishti, our focused determination. And then choosing where that foot might come. So I've got something going on in my hamstring. So I usually bring my knee a little bit more forward. So know that it's still tree, even if the knee is not perfectly out to the side. And then let's see if we can move with breath. Inhale, arms up. And exhale, hands to prayer, or choosing whatever movement or lack of movement that works for you this morning. We all grow in different ways. I'm completely losing my balance. And we know what we do when we do that. We laugh. And then we maybe see if we can come back in one more time. Excellent. Arms to the sides, left foot down. Maybe giving that right leg a shake or an ankle circle. And then we'll come around. This will be our final Vinyasa. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, fold. Let's do the inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, deep bend in the knees. We can step back to plank or come to knees right away. Hips back towards the heels. Inhale to all fours. Exhale. Hips towards the mat, chest lifted. And then if the knees aren't behind you, walking the knees back so you can bring the belly onto the mat. Placing one hand on top of each other, elbows out, resting the forehead. Maybe even rolling the forehead side to side a few times. And then bringing it to rest. Coming up so I can talk. Staying here, this is forward facing Shavasana. And now with our whole front body on the mat, we can again maybe focus on that feeling of pressing the belly into the mat, feeling the breath move to the middle, and then the top of the chest. And then as you exhale, maybe even feeling the back body sink towards the mat. Inhale, filling the front body. Exhale, as you release, feeling the back body sink towards the front of the mat. So I think at the change of the seasons, Though we do know here there could be a couple more changes yet. But I think it's important to note that nature reminds us that spring will come no matter what else is going on in our lives. So I know it's really hard lots of times right now to envision what, when are we going to get back to the studio? When are we going to be able to go to a restaurant or a concert? It's really hard. There's no answers for that right now. But spring reminds us that there will always be change. So this isn't for forever. And hopefully, especially, I saw the first green thing in my garden this week. So that sort of automatically lightens the spirit, at least mine. And if nothing else, hopefully it means that we can spend a little bit more time outdoors in our own yards or nearby I even saw people with little toddlers with no shirts yesterday. It was like a full-on hot day, so. One more big breath. And then let's bring the arms out to our sides, palms facing down, kind of that wing-swept shape. I want to make sure my feet are hip distance. That usually protects the back. I'm going to keep my chin slightly tucked. But when we do lift up, Jody started this analogy, I love it. Imagine that you're kind of peering over the end of the dock, looking over the end of the mat. So on the inhale, we'll lift feet, legs, arms, shoulders, as much as the torso. If you want to lift the chin a little and peek over the end of that dock, or keep the chin a little bit more tucked, we're not holding our breath. So we might bounce up and down a few times on our belly. Let's see if we can hold for one more breath. And then exhale, slowly lowering. Let's bring the arms right to the sides, flipping the palms up, and then putting the left cheek on the mat, turning the gaze to the right. I'm going to protect my mic. So when you're in this shape, maybe even feel like the front of the shoulders are being drawn towards the mat. Maybe offering that little bit extra stretch between the shoulder blades. And then inhale, come back to center. This time you can choose whether you might want to have the arms more straight out at the sides or even forward in the Superman shape, or exactly where they were the first time. Inhale, lifting head, shoulders, arms, legs, feet. My hands might even come. I might try to lift them to forehead height. Don't hold the breath. I still want my shoulders to be away from the ears. I caught that on myself, them shrinking up. And then exhale, slowly lowering. Hands at the sides, palms facing up, right cheek on the mat. And again, feeling like the fronts of the shoulders are being drawn towards the mat. And then let's bring the hands back up, one hand on top of each other. So you can rest the forehead, rocking the hips from side to side. And then coming back to center, let's bend both knees, bottoms of the feet pointing to the ceiling, and let's rock the legs back and forth a few times. And then lowering the legs, hands under the shoulders. Push ourselves up to all fours. Let's push the hips to the right, looking over the left shoulder. Inhale through center, pushing the hips to the left, looking over the right shoulder. Either moving back and forth with the breath, or taking 1 or 2 breaths on each side, moving down as deep as needed for you to feel a stretch. And then eventually landing on the right or left hip so we can bring our legs out in front of us. Hands at our sides. So we're going to come into Dandasana, which is our seated mountain, so feet hip distance. I don't want my back rounded, so I'm really bringing my chest forward, hands at my sides, pressing so my palms don't quite touch, but I'm pushing, or the heel of my hands don't quite touch. I'm pushing in that direction, lifting the chest. Couple breaths here, just regrounding onto the mat. And then, without really knowing what everyone has available to them, maybe you have a towel or a blanket you can roll up. I do have a small bolster I'm just going to use for, so you can see what I'm after. I just want to have that protection behind the knees. So even without any kind of a prop, you can even just dig the heels in a little and have the knees bent. We're going to come into a forward fold, but I don't want it to be so much about the legs. So we'll bring the arms to shoulder height. I'm going to put this back. And reach as far forward as you can with the arms coming straight off the shoulders. And then just let the hands land where they land. We'll take one final inhale to lift up and forward with the chest. Maybe the hands walk a tiny bit further. Now we can round the back, chin to chest. Reaching for whatever's available. Feel free to have the legs flat if you really had nothing to put underneath behind the knees. So each time I inhale, I still am trying to bring my chest forward. So really working on straightening or lengthening the spine. These seated forward folds are often a least favorite. We don't have gravity helping to pull us down towards the floor. We might be here, just so you know. I like that there's no comparison in these classes, but sometimes it also makes you wonder if it's okay that your forward fold is here because your back and hamstrings and hips are so tight. One more breath wherever you're at. And then let's really slowly walk our hands back up the legs, bringing them behind, either fingers pointed towards or fingers pointed away. Just a little bit of a counter stretch, lifting the chest, maybe letting the head fall back a little. And then coming back forward, if you did have any kind of prop, and we'll just move it out of the way. And we'll come all the way onto our backs. I think I'm good. I've got my mic pack on the side. Feet hip distance. Actually, feet to the outside edges of the mat. Let's windshield wiper the knees side to side a few times. And then bringing them back to center. We're going to bring the right knee into the chest. So interlocking the hands, pulling on or bringing them onto the shin below the knee. You can choose to keep this left leg bent or extended. Usually the low back wants one or the other. Pulling that right knee out and around the right ribs, and then as tightly into the body as you can without straining. I'm trying to keep my shoulders flat to the mat, but one or the other might lift, probably the left. And then I'm going to keep my neck neutral, but you might tuck your chin as if you were trying to look down the front of your shirt. So this is wind relieving pose, one that we can perform without fear in our own homes. And I always forget, I've heard the description of this posture probably 500 times, but I always forget what side of the colon that we are descending. Ascending colon, right, because it's up on the right and down on the left. Big belly breaths, pressing into the thigh. And then let's release the grip on the outer shin. Hold the leg now behind the thigh so that and again, you might need to bend the knee here. Let's do some ankle circles. So this is in place of, and typically I would have us put a block behind the low back. And I'm finding that this is a nice supported version, but if you're okay to just have the leg, let's change direction, up in the air without holding on behind, feel free. And then let's point the foot and flex the foot. Point, you can have as much bend in the knee as you need to. And then either holding on to the sides of the legs, or maybe you can bring the hands down to the floor. Imagine your leg is a big pencil and your big toe is the lead. Let's make circles. So the whole leg is moving. I'm drawing circles on the ceiling. Again, this one might be easier with that left knee bent. Let's change direction. We're just trying to get some movement of that thigh bone in the hip socket. And then let's bend the knee. Reach up and grab that foot either on the outside or the inside, or again, maybe behind the thigh. Let's come into half happy baby. Left hand on the left hip bone, just encouraging it to stay down. And then finding movement here if that is okay for you. You might bend the leg more and extend it a little. You might move the foot around. Just whatever feels right. Or just holding, imagining that the left knee is coming a little closer to the mat. My right shoulder is a little lifted, so I'm imagining that that's settling towards the mat. And then release. Let's bring the feet to the edges of the mat again. We'll do a few windshield wipers in between sides. And then moving over to the left side, pulling that left knee into the chest, interlocking the fingers, pulling it out and around the ribs, choosing how you'll place the right leg, pulling the knee towards the body without straining. You might still feel that pinching at the top of the hip. I'm trying to have both shoulders settled onto the mat. I might tuck my chin and take big, deep belly breaths, massaging our descending colon. And then let's release the grip on the shin, holding on to the back of the thigh and moving into some ankle circles with the left foot. Getting a few good cracks in the room. I'm used to like a symphony of cracks. Let's change direction. It's funny the little things you miss. I certainly miss catching up with everybody every week. But like just those little sounds that you didn't realize you missed. Let's point the toes and flex the feet. Point the toes, flex the feet. Back and forth a few times. I think we're all learning to appreciate the little things that we will hopefully very rarely take for granted again. And then deciding here, once the toe is pointed, if you want to still hang on to the leg or maybe feel like it's okay to have the hands at the sides. And we'll move that leg in circles. I always tell the story. I used to always talk about what bone was moving in what joint. Let's change direction. And then a doctor started coming to my classes and I doubted whether I was saying the right words. And then I thought, you know what? Students just want to hear thigh bone, hip, socket. Everybody understands those words. And then bending the knee. Let's reach up and grab either the outside, inside, or again, maybe still holding behind the thigh. Coming into half happy baby. Right hand on right hip, just encouraging it to stay on the mat. Again, my left shoulder is a little lifted, so I'm imagining maybe that the knee and the shoulder, with each exhale, are sinking a little closer to the mat. I can decide if I want to bend and straighten the leg a little. Big, deep breaths. We're really starting to wanting to wind down to our final, almost sort of restorative postures at the end. Let's release that left foot. Let's walk the feet to the outside edges of the mat, but this time let the knees fall towards each other. And honestly, getting those feet as far apart as comfortable. I really like to get that nice stretch on the outer thigh, maybe the outer hip. And then let's bring the feet back together to hip distance. I'm going to cross my right ankle in front of my left knee. I'm going to lift my hips up and move them a little bit towards the right side of the mat. Arms stretched out at the sides. Palms can be up or down, whatever feels best for your shoulders. And then I'm not going to be able to come all the way over, let the legs fall to the left. Now, if you've got something to tuck under that foot, if it doesn't quite make it down, that's one option. You can let the right shoulder lift. That's totally okay. If the right shoulder is lifted, maybe bend to the right elbow and just place the hand on the ribs. This might be way too much for your low back, so you might unhook the foot and just have the knees. And then I can't come right over to my side because of my mic pad. Coming in right onto your side into fetal position, always an option if the twist is just not working for your low back. I know reclined twists, anybody with really sore backs or a back issue often just aren't available. So coming into whatever shape of twist works for you. You can look up at the ceiling, you can look towards the left, or you can look towards the right hand. It really doesn't make a big difference to the posture. It just depends on what feels right in your neck and upper spine. So I taught a little bit deeper practice a few months ago on twists when I subbed Jody's beginner class. I did a lot of extra research, and there's really no research to back up that we're detoxing livers by a liver or kidney by twisting out. But it is thought that we're stimulating nerve endings that are giving us that feeling when we come into twists. One more breath. And on the inhale now, let's bring the knees back to center. Unhook the ankle if it was still hooked. And then we'll bring the left ankle in front of the right knee, lifting up the hips, moving it a little bit towards the left side of the mat, letting the knees fall to the right. Might feel completely different on this side. You might have to unhook. You might need to let the left shoulder lift. You might place something under the knees. You make a decision of where your gaze will be. And some who can come deeper into the twist might even be able to place their right hand on their left thigh, as long as that's not putting too much pressure on the low back. And again, coming all the way into fetal position, always an option. Seeing if we can come back to those 3-part breaths, maybe even counting as you count number 1, filling the belly, number 2, filling the middle of the chest, and number 3, filling the top. And exhaling from 3, 2, 1, feeling the belly fall. Maybe with the back exposed, again, you can feel that expansion across the low back when you inhale, middle back, upper back, and exhale, feeling that contraction. And 2 more breaths on this side. And then on the next inhale, let's slowly bring the knees back to center, shifting your hips back to the middle of the mat, bringing the feet to the outside edges of the mat. Let's let the knees fall together one more time. Maybe even placing left hand on heart, right hand on belly. And so I love that I've been saying this the last few practices. This shape is called Constructive Rest. And I like just even that name suggests that rest is constructive. It's not a waste of time. And then let's bring the knees back up, bringing the feet back to center. And we're going to finish with some leg lifts. So keeping that left knee bent, let's reach the right foot up towards the ceiling. You can point or flex, whatever feels better in your leg. And then we're going to slowly lower that leg down to the mat, your slow count of 10. Now I can't see everyone's leg. So on the next 2 breaths, making sure that your leg is back down to the mat. And then we'll bend that right knee, lifting the left leg up to the ceiling, either pointing or flexing, whatever feels better, and slowly lowering that leg to a slow count of 10, back down to the floor. Two more breaths to get there if you're not already there. And then let's stretch the right leg out beside the left, starting to move into our Shavasana. So choosing what shape works for you. Do you want to have something tucked behind the knees? Maybe heels come to opposite corners. I like to encourage hands to come out, or arms to come out from the shoulders so that the shoulder blades are flat on the mat. But maybe today you want to come into that constructive rest, left hand on heart, right hand on belly, maybe feet apart, knees together. I think everyone knows at this point what their favorite shape is for Shavasana. So allow your attention to focus only on your body. If you begin to notice your mind wandering, bring it back to the muscle we are working on. Take a deep breath in, filling your abdomen. Hold and exhale slowly. Take another deep breath in. And as you exhale, imagine the tension in your body being released and flowing out of your body. Again, inhale and exhale. Feel your body already relaxing. As we go through each step, remember to keep breathing. Tighten the muscles in your forehead by raising your eyebrows as high as you can. Hold. And abruptly release, feeling the tension fall away. Now smile widely, feeling your mouth and cheeks tense. Hold. And release, appreciating the softness in your face. Next, tighten your eye muscles by squinting your eyelids tightly shut. Hold. And release. Gently lift your chin as if to look at the ceiling. Hold. And release. Feeling tension melting away. Feel the weight of your relaxed head and neck sink into the mat. Now tightly but without straining, clench your fists, tightening the muscles all the way up to your shoulders. Hold. And release. Lift the shoulders up towards the ears. Hold. And quickly release, feeling their heaviness. Tense your upper back by trying to pull your shoulder blades together. Hold. And release. Gently arch the lower back. Hold. And relax. Feel the limpness in your upper body, letting go of tension and stress. Tighten your buttocks. Hold. And release, imagining your hips falling loose. Tighten your thighs by imagining you're squeezing something between them. Hold. And release. Flex your feet, pulling your toes towards you, feeling the tension in your calves. Hold. And relax. Feel the weight of your legs sinking down. Curl your toes under, tensing the feet. Release. Now imagine a wave of relaxation slowly spreading through your body, beginning at your head and going all the way down to the feet. Feel the weight of your relaxed body sinking into the mat. I'll bring you back in a moment. Begin to take in a deeper breath, bringing some awareness back to your body. Maybe opening and closing your hands a few times. Moving your feet, maybe side to side. Lifting the shoulders up off the mat and then placing them back down. Reaching the arms up overhead, giving yourself a big good morning stretch. And then maybe bringing your knees into your chest and giving them a final squeeze. Might roll a few times from side to side, if that's okay for the back. And then eventually landing on either the right or left side, whichever is most comfortable. Let's take a breath or two in fetal position. Before pushing yourself back to seated. Closing your eyes when you get there, bringing your hands together in prayer. I'm going to leave us with some words from Hal Borland. He was a journalist for the New York Times. No winter lasts forever. No spring skips its turn. Thank you very much for sharing your practice with me this morning. Namaste.